Welcome to the Beat Your Bully and Build Self-Confidence 6-week online course. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Skilmo Kondo. And I like to ask a question when I speak to groups of accomplished women to find out their level of self-confidence. So I asked the question, how many of you struggle with a lack of self-confidence? And what I began to notice is that 90% of the hands in the room would usually go up when I asked that question. So I began to notice this trend that no matter how successful they were, how accomplished they were, how experienced they were, women were struggling with a lack of self-confidence. It almost seems like it's an epidemic that prevents women from moving forward and might be leading to the leadership gap that we see within organizations. And so I decided to create this course because I wanted to give women the tools that they need in order to build the self-confidence necessary to thrive in their careers and their life. I've designed this course as a self-coaching, self-reflection course for you to be able to do on your own time. Now, these tools are tools that I've used on myself personally to overcome my barriers to self-confidence, and I've used them with hundreds of women who have been able to accomplish great things in their life and their career. So each week, you're going to receive 2 modules, 2 videos per week to watch and to complete on your own time, accompanied with some worksheets. These videos are designed to give you tools and exercises to help you build more self-confidence. So I recommend that you block out at least an hour each week to watch the videos and do the exercises, and then estimate another 1 hour per week to do the homework. I invite you to give yourself the permission to invest this time, to really dig into the course and do the exercises and practice the tools that I recommend so that you can get the most out of this training. There's also a private Facebook group that you'll be invited to participate in, where you'll be able to share your experience, ask questions, gather support from others, and be able to work with a community of like-minded women. So I invite you to take advantage of that opportunity as well, because nobody should be on this journey by themselves. By the end of the 6-week program, you should be able to notice some small shifts in your mind, in your body, how you feel around self-confidence. Now I want to level set expectations. Your inner bully has developed over your entire lifetime, so I wouldn't want you to think that you can just get rid of it in a 6-week course. That's not realistic. However, you should begin to see some changes, some subtle changes over time, and I would give yourself at least 6 months to really lower the volume on that inner bully and begin feeling more confident in yourself and noticing some more outward external changes. So be patient with yourself and give yourself the time necessary to really develop the skill sets that I introduce in this course. Now, some of you will finish the course and feel like you need more guidance and support. I want to let you know that I do offer one-on-one coaching, and if this is something that you feel you want to take advantage of, you're more than welcome to contact me so I can tell you more about those programs. With that, I wish you the best as you learn how to beat your inner bully and build more self-confidence. Let's get started. Beat the inner bully and build inner confidence. Module 1, Defining Confidence. Have you ever heard a voice inside your head that creeps up on you time to time and tells you things like you're not good enough or that you're an imposter, and everyone will find out soon that you don't belong where you are? I call that voice the inner bully, and I'll tell you a little secret. I used to have a very loud inner bully. My inner bully was so loud and so mean that I used to be afraid to speak up at work. I was petrified of saying or doing the wrong thing for fear that someone would realize that I was just underqualified and didn't belong in the room. So I sat silently in meeting after meeting, very quiet, keeping my head down and not really saying very much. This went on for years until I finally had enough. I decided I was going to do something about my inner bully. All of the exercises and tools that you're about to learn in this course are tools that I've used myself to help me overcome my own inner bully. I've also used these tools with my coaching clients who have come to me looking for ways to help them turn down the volume on their inner bully and gain the confidence necessary to thrive in their personal and professional lives. If you go through these modules and complete the exercises and assignments, I am confident that you will begin to notice the quieting of your inner bully and a new sense of freedom that comes with more confidence in yourself, your voice, and your decisions. So let's get started. Our goal for week 1 is going to be exploring the myth that many professional women believe about success and how to earn a promotion. And we're going to look at why confidence is the missing piece of being successful. And then we're going to see the confidence gap between men and women and how it actually impacts the leadership gap we see at the very top of executive levels in organizations. And finally, we're going to look what confidence is and how we define it, the myth. For a long time, there has been a commonly held belief among professional women that if you work hard, that would be enough to get ahead. Well, I'm here to shatter that myth because the truth is, it's actually not enough to just be competent and perform well at your job. Let's look at why this is the case. There is a man named Harvey Coleman who wrote a book about what one needs to do to earn a promotion, and he came up with this model. He said that there were basically 3 basic elements to being promoted. The first was based on performance, on what we do. The second was about our image, how people perceive what we do. And the third was exposure. Who in the organization sees us? How much visibility do we have in the organization? Now, in terms of importance, what percentage of each of these pillars do you think you need to get promoted? Go ahead and take a guess and write the answers down on a piece of paper. I'll give you a second to do that. So here's how it actually breaks down. It turns out that performance only counts for 10% of what goes into considering someone for a promotion. The other 90% is made up of image and exposure. 60% for exposure, 30% for image. Are you surprised? Most people are surprised when they look at these statistics, because for a long time we were taught that doing a good job was enough to be noticed and given more responsibilities or more money or a higher title. So what we need to do is shift our focus and think about how to increase both our image and our exposure to be able to advance in our careers. But the question becomes, what do we need to do in order to increase our image in the eyes of others or gain exposure inside the organization? And I'm here to tell you the main component to achieve both of these goals is self-confidence, because here's the thing. You need to be competent and confident to be successful. You actually need both. If you want to increase your image and gain exposure, you need to be able to go out of your comfort zone and build relationships with key decision makers. You need to be able to voice your opinions and speak up at meetings, give presentations, and find authentic ways to showcase your achievements. You need to be authentic and gain the trust of others. All of these things require you to be confident in yourself. So besides these points, why else is confidence important? Well, research shows that it's confidence that sways, confidence compels others, and it's what inspires, and it actually matters more than competence. Studies show that when people are confident, when they think they are good at something regardless of how good they actually are, they display a lot of non-verbal and verbal behavior. They'll take up more room, have lower vocal tone, they'll speak early and often in a calm and relaxed manner. They do a lot of things that make them look very confident in the eyes of others. The result, despite being less competent, confident people are more admired, listened to, and have more sway in discussions and decisions. In these studies, it was also shown that a lack of competence didn't have any negative consequences. Confident people were just beloved in their group despite how smart they were. And here's the interesting thing. Their overconfidence didn't come across as arrogance. That only happens when you fake confidence. Fake confidence appears as arrogance. This is something women say a lot. They say, "Oh, I'm worried that if I show too much confidence, people will think that I'm full of myself." Well, the research shows that this is actually untrue. No one is going to think that, so go ahead, be as confident as you want. There's really no downside. So the bottom line is this. Having talent isn't just about being competent. Having confidence is part of that talent. You have to have it to be good at your job. Exercise number 1. What is your personal brand? Think about the people you work with or work for. How do you think they perceive you? How would you define your personal brand currently? Use descriptive words like, "My personal brand is someone who is hardworking and doesn't challenge authority." Go ahead and take time to reflect on these 2 questions and write them down in your workbook. Exercise number 2. Define your stakeholders. Number 1. Identify the key decision makers you currently work with or work for. Who are those people who influence the decision about your career or determine if you get promoted? Make a list. Number 2. How would you describe your relationship with each of these stakeholders? How well do they know your actions, behaviors, or achievements? How are they getting information about your performance? Through you or a third party like your boss? Number 3. What can you do to improve these relationships and gain more exposure in an authentic and effective way? Beat the inner bully and build inner confidence. Module 1.2, Defining Confidence. Next, we want to look at the confidence gap that exists between men and women. There are many studies that show us that there's a big confidence gap between men and women, and it can impact women in much more severe ways, especially when it comes to our careers and the salaries we earn. There was a study that was done at the Manchester School of Business, where they asked students what they thought they deserved to earn 5 years after graduation. And they noticed massive differences between what men and women thought they should earn after graduation. The male students expected to earn significantly more than the women. On average, men said they deserved to earn $80,000 a year, and women thought they only deserved $64,000. So think about this. Women believed that they were worth 20% less than men. So the confidence gap impacts how we value ourselves. And it can also impact how we perceive our abilities. A couple of psychologists from Cornell and the University of Washington gave male and female college students a pop quiz on scientific reasoning, and they were asked to rate themselves on their scientific skills. The women rated themselves more negatively than the men did in scientific ability. When it came to assessing how well they answered the questions, women thought they got an average 5.8 out of 10, right? Men thought they got 7.1 out of 10 correct. But when they compared their actual scores, men and women performed about the same. Then they asked that same group having no knowledge about how they performed to participate in a science competition for prizes. The women were much more likely to turn down that opportunity. Only 49% signed up for the competition compared with 71% of men. If women aren't pursuing those opportunities, guess who gets those positions? If women aren't pursuing those opportunities, guess who gets those positions? Not women. So the confidence gap also impacts our ambition. And most importantly, the confidence gap impacts our voice. In a Princeton study, men and women were put to work solving a budget challenge. The study found that in some cases, women were in the minority, and they only spoke 75% less than men did. So we hold ourselves back from participating fully and expressing our ideas. So what is the result of all of this? Because of a lack of confidence and a lack of belief in themselves, women may not apply for certain jobs, may not speak up or voice their opinion, may not be able to negotiate competitive salaries. They may not aim for higher paying jobs like in STEM. Or maybe they won't ask for a promotion, or fill in the blank. Therefore, we see the gender gap persisting, and we continue to see a strong correlation between the confidence gap and the leadership gap between men and women in leadership positions. In order to address this, we need to first understand what confidence is, and then find ways to get more of it. So let's next look at how we define confidence. Confidence is what turns thoughts into action. Without it, we hold ourselves back. So we need it to get into action. And we can define confidence as two things, a belief and a feeling. Confidence is a belief we can create a successful outcome through our actions. It's also a feeling we experience in ourselves, in our bodies. In other words, when we are confident, we believe we are good enough, we believe we have value to offer, and those beliefs are what leads us to take action, like applying for a job or asking for a promotion. And confidence is also something we feel in our body. Sometimes it can be hard to pinpoint, but it's a feeling we have inside. For some, it could be a feeling of excitement, or a feeling of being calm and collected. It's a feeling we experience in ourselves. So to understand confidence, we have to look at both the mind and the body for answers. Exercise number 1, define confidence. Think back to a time where you felt confident. What did you feel? What actions did you take? What was the outcome? How would you define confidence? How does it feel in your body when you're confident? Take some time to reflect on these questions and jot down your notes in your workbook. Homework. Notice when you feel confident versus unconfident. What situations trigger you to feel confident, and what situations trigger you to not feel confident? When you're not confident, what is the result? What actions do you take or not take? How does it hold you back? Write down your reflections in your workbook. Accountability. Comment on the post about your progress and/or challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 2, the inner bully. Let's recap what we've learned so far. We've learned that performance only accounts for 10% as a promotion indicator. We've learned that you need both confidence and competence in order to succeed, and that women tend to focus more on competence versus building the confidence they need in order to be successful. We've learned that women consistently devalue their abilities, their worth, and their opinions, which lead to the leadership gap that we continue to see at executive levels. We've also learned that confidence is what turns thoughts into action, and it's what sways and influences others. Let's look at our goals for Module 2. In this module, we're going to understand how our limiting beliefs are the number one barrier to self-confidence. Then we're going to identify the words of our inner bully and get in touch with our inner cheerleader. and we're going to learn practices that will help turn down the volume on your inner bully and turn up the volume of your inner cheerleader. The inner bully. The inner bully is what makes us feel like an imposter, that we just don't belong here, that we aren't worthy of success. It keeps us from aiming higher and seeking more for our lives. Most of the time, we aren't even aware of our inner bully because it's such an everyday part of us. But the fact is that our inner bully is part of our subconscious mind. Sometimes this inner bully appears in certain situations. For others, it's a 24/7 non-stop dialogue. But wherever you fall on that spectrum, the bottom line is this: your inner bully is in charge of your life, and you probably don't even know it. I invite you to think about the inner bully like the operating system on a computer. When you use a computer, all you see is a nice interface that lets you get your email done or lets you put together a PowerPoint presentation. But what you don't see is all the code in the background that is running those programs. It's the same as our belief systems where our inner bully resides. They are the operating system of our actions and behaviors. Our inner bully acts like the operating system of our actions. Now, it's also important to note what the primary job is of our inner bully. The job of our inner bully is to keep us safe. It really wants to protect us by reminding us of our past failures and limitations, so we won't repeat the same actions that have caused us pain and humiliation in the past. But although it thinks it's keeping us safe, it's unaware of the damage it's doing in the process, especially to our self-confidence. So how do we control the inner bully? We basically have to update our operating system, and we're going to do that now. The first step is to identify the voice of our inner bully. We are going to bring the inner bully into our conscious awareness so we can begin reshaping our beliefs into more positive ones. So take a moment now to think about your inner bully voice. What does it say to you? What are the words it uses? What is the dialogue that you hear over and over and over like a loop? What are those limiting beliefs? Pick the main one or the top 3 that come to mind right away and jot those down in your workbook. Exercise number 1. What are the words of your bully? Think about the words your inner bully tells you. Choose the loudest, most common ones you hear, like I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, etc. Write them down as sentences or phrases in your workbook, and it can also impact how we perceive our abilities. A couple of psychologists from Cornell and the University of Washington gave male and female college students a pop quiz on scientific reasoning, and they were asked to rate themselves on their scientific skills. The women rated themselves more negatively than the men did in scientific ability. When it came to assessing how well they answered the questions, women thought they got an average 5.8 out of 10, right? Men thought they got 7.1 out of 10 correct. But when they compared their actual scores, men and women performed about the same. Then they asked that same group having no knowledge about how they performed to participate in a science competition for prizes. The women were much more likely to turn down that opportunity. Only 49% signed up for the competition compared with 71% of men. What if women aren't pursuing those opportunities? Guess who gets those positions? If women aren't pursuing those opportunities, guess who gets those positions? Not women. So the confidence gap also impacts our ambition. And most importantly, the confidence gap impacts our voice. In a Princeton study, men and women were put to work solving a budget challenge. The study found that in some cases, women were in the minority, and they only spoke 75% less than men did. So we hold ourselves back from participating fully and expressing our ideas. So what is the result of all of this? Because of a lack of confidence and a lack of belief in themselves, women may not apply for certain jobs, may not speak up or voice their opinion, may not be able to negotiate competitive salaries. They may not aim for higher paying jobs like in STEM. Or maybe they won't ask for a promotion or fill in the blank. Therefore, we see the gender gap persisting, and we continue to see a strong correlation between the confidence gap and the leadership gap between men and women in leadership positions. In order to address this, we need to first understand what confidence is, and then find ways to get more of it. So let's next look at how we define confidence. Confidence is what turns thoughts into action. Without it, we hold ourselves back. So we need it to get into action. And we can define confidence as 2 things, a belief and a feeling. Confidence is a belief we can create a successful outcome through our actions. It's also a feeling we experience in ourselves, in our bodies. In other words, when we are confident, we believe we are good enough. We believe we have value to offer, and those beliefs are what leads us to take action, like applying for a job or asking for a promotion. And confidence is also something we feel in our body. Sometimes it can be hard to pinpoint, but it's a feeling we have inside. For some, it could be a feeling of excitement, or a feeling of being calm and collected. It's a feeling we experience in ourselves. So to understand confidence, we have to look at both the mind and the body for answers. Exercise number 1. Define confidence. Think back to a time where you felt confident. What did you feel? What actions did you take? What was the outcome? How would you define confidence? How does it feel in your body when you're confident? Take some time to reflect on these questions and jot down your notes in your workbook. Homework. Notice when you feel confident versus unconfident. What situations trigger you to feel confident, and what situations trigger you to not feel confident? When you're not confident, what is the result? What actions do you take or not take? How does it hold you back? Write down your reflections in your workbook. Accountability. Comment on the post about your progress and/or challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. Beat the inner bully and build inner confidence. Module 1.2, Defining Confidence. Next, we want to look at the confidence gap that exists between men and women. There are many studies that show us that there's a big confidence gap between men and women, and it can impact women in much more severe ways, especially when it comes to our careers and the salaries we earn. There was a study that was done at the Manchester School of Business, where they asked students what they thought they deserved to earn 5 years after graduation, and they noticed massive differences between what men and women thought they should earn after graduation. The male students expected to earn significantly more than the women. On average, men said they deserved to earn $80,000 a year, and women thought they only deserved $64,000. So think about this. Women believed that they were worth 20% less than men. So the confidence gap impacts how we value ourselves. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 3, Redefining Power. So let's recap what we've learned so far. We've learned that confidence turns thoughts into action. We've identified the words of our inner bully, and we've gotten in touch with our inner cheerleader. We've begun updating our operating system to tap into our inner cheerleader, and we know that practice makes perfect, and we're getting in touch with our strengths and our gifts. Our goals for Module 3 are going to be redefining our relationship to power, and we're going to learn how to get in touch with our body as that source of power. Then I'm going to teach you how to use centering as a way to gain power and clarity, and you'll learn how to develop leadership presence through power poses. Power. We know that the best leaders know how to influence others. And in order to influence others to follow your vision, or to execute on tasks, or just to participate and perform well, we need to learn how to use power and understand power dynamics. So first, let's look at how we define power. Traditionally, as a society, we have negative connotations to power. We believe that having power means to have power over someone, or to be in control over a person or a situation. We tend to think of leaders who have absolute power, and many times we see leaders sometimes abuse their power or authority. So we tend to think of power in two ways, either people who have power or people who don't. And this results in us having a negative relationship with power. And for many women, we would rather give up our power completely than be associated with these negative definitions of power. But it doesn't have to be so black or white. Exercise number 1, Defining Power. How do you define the word power? What is your relationship to power? What unconscious associations do you have to the meaning of power? Go ahead and jot some notes down in your workbook. Redefining power. I believe that it's possible to redefine power in a way that is much more positive and gives us alternatives to the way we have related to power in the past. When we look at traditional uses of power, mainly using a power over style, we see leaders who give orders and really micromanage their employees, which leads to a workforce that tends to be demotivated, and these people tend to not think outside of the box very much. They'll do the bare minimum just to take home a paycheck. This presents many challenges, the main one being that you're not really leveraging the potential of your people, and you may not be able to get maximum performance from those you manage or lead. So in order to shift from a power over command and control type of power dynamic, we can look to sharing power with others and giving power to others. On the other hand, we have also traditionally seen people use power in a way that makes people feel powerless. This style is associated with behaviors where people feel treated unfairly, and so we tend to give away our power. This results in behaviors where we might be blameful or angry at others, or we might get withdrawn. We might start over-analyzing and ruminating. Or we might get really competitive or manipulative with others to feel powerful again. but really we're just insecure and always bogged down with self-doubt. These two types of using power end up creating environments of fear and toxicity in any situation, whether it be in the workplace, the home, or in the community. However, there are other ways to relate to power which we can begin to explore, mainly through sharing power with others and giving power to others. As leaders, we have an obligation to create environments where everyone can thrive and do their best work. The first type of giving power to others is a much more collaborative approach to using power. These leaders have self-awareness and spend time centering themselves so they are calm and collected, instead of being reactionary. They have a vision and communicate that vision effectively to their team. They practice vulnerability at times and show up authentically. They care about others and take time to develop people under them, but they also set strong boundaries in place and prioritize self-care. They can see things from many perspectives, and they don't have a hard time putting themselves in other people's shoes by practicing empathy. They inspire collaboration amongst their team and give credit where credit is due. There's also another style of using power, which is giving power to others. Here the leader is assertive. They are okay with taking risks. They are confident in themselves and are able to make quick decisions, and they bounce back from failure quickly. Each quadrant has a list of qualities that describes that quadrant in more detail. So our goal as leaders is to move from the lower two quadrants to the upper two quadrants. But when we are stressed out or, under pressure, we usually get stuck in the bottom two quadrants. In order to gain confidence and be powerful in whatever you do at your workplace, at home, in any relationship with others, we want to operate from the upper two quadrants. So depending on what the situation requires from us, we may want to be in the collaborator quadrant, or we may need to switch over to the risk-taker quadrant. Not every situation is the same, so you can determine what qualities you need to exhibit in order to have the most desired effect on others. Take a moment to reflect on these quadrants and the qualities in each. Which of these quadrants best describes your natural use of using power? Which quadrant do you need to shift into to be more effective? Look at the qualities in that quadrant and jot down maybe 3 or 4 qualities that you would want to have more of in order to be able to be more effective in that quadrant. Exercise number 2, redefining power. What would be different about your relationship to power if you thought about power with and power to? What qualities do you need to practice or cultivate in order to move from a power over or powerless quadrant to the power with and power to quadrant? What would you do differently if you owned your power? Jot those answers in your workbook. Beat the inner bully and build more self-confidence. Module 3.2, the body. Till now, we have explored how to increase confidence by focusing on the mind. Now, we're going to turn to the body for answers. We said earlier that confidence is a feeling. I'm inviting you to think back to a time where you felt confident. Where did you feel it in your body? What did it feel like? Was it a feeling, an emotion? Were there any sensations in your body? The problem is that many of us live in our heads. We are totally cut off from our bodies. There's a lot of mind chatter happening, and we lose out on all that powerful information that the rest of our body has to offer, like our intuition or emotional intelligence. All that lives in our gut or in our heart. So how do we access that? One way to do that is by practice centering. So you may be wondering, what is centering? If you've ever taken a yoga class or meditated, how do you feel afterward? Pretty relaxed, right? You might feel calm, centered, grounded. So that is what I mean by centering. It's a similar feeling. So you're probably scratching your head going, well, what does that have to do with self-confidence? I'll tell you why in this next example. Imagine you get to the office around 9 a.m. and you check your email and find that at 1 a.m. your boss sent you an email asking you to make a deadline by the end of the day, and it's just completely unrealistic. So you write back in an angry tone, and then you're all stressed out for the rest of the day. Well, here's what happens in your brain when you get stressed out. The blood rushes to the prefrontal cortex of your brain, and you lose about 60% of your ability to think rationally. But when we practice centering, we can trigger our parasympathetic nervous system that releases chemicals that calm us down so that we can think and act more rationally. And when we do, we can ask ourselves, which capacity do I need to leverage right now in order to have a better outcome than just writing an angry email, for example? What is the desired impact I want to make? And then you pick the quality that you want to have more of in order to achieve that goal. Centering can also help us feel more confident and speak with more authority. Women have a tendency to upspeak. Sometimes we apologize for speaking and we say something like, "I just have a quick question. Is it okay if I ask this question?" Or we make a statement that sounds like a question. It might go something like this: "I think we need to discuss this with the board of directors." It's a way to deflect criticism because it encourages reassurance. What are we doing? We're basically acknowledging that we lack the knowledge and we're too afraid to speak our authority. And this conveys a lack of confidence, because when you do this, it takes away from the validity of your argument. Men don't struggle with this as much, and if you've noticed, they are pretty direct with their opinions. So we can learn from them and speak with more authority. If you're stating an opinion or making a comment, say it with confidence, because if you don't sound confident, why will anybody believe what you have to say? So in order to do so, we first practice the following centering exercise to help you speak with more authority. Centering exercise. Start by sitting straight up in your chair, feet planted firmly in the ground, shoulders back. Close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths, exhaling in and out, in and out. On your third exhale, imagine all the energy in your body sinking in through your legs and into the ground all the way into the center of the earth. On your next inhale and exhale, imagine a bubble surrounding you in all directions around your body. Give it a color or texture. Then try to expand that bubble little by little. You can expand it by 5 feet, 10 feet, and then you can expand it to fill the entire room. Finally, invite a quality in your body. It can be anything you want a little bit more of. For example, you might want to feel more calm or joy or ease or softness. See what it feels like if you had 5% more of this quality in your body. Sit with this feeling as long as you like. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. This exercise should eventually take you less than 30 seconds and is a calming and centering exercise. This practice triggers our parasympathetic nervous system, which signals our brain to relax. And when we are relaxed and focused, it is much easier to deal with the stressors around us, helping us make better informed decisions, speak more confidently, and with more authority. Presence. Now, there's a second key that involves the body, and that's around the concept of presence. So in order to look at this topic, we're going to look at the research done by social psychologist Amy Cuddy. During her research, Ms. Cuddy discovered that when we take up more space with our bodies, it automatically helps us feel more powerful. Chemicals such as testosterone are released, which makes us feel more powerful, while the stress chemical cortisol decreases in the body. When we feel powerful, we can bring our best foot forward and show up more authentically. And what her research showed is that there's a gender gap between how men and women take up space. Turns out, men typically tend to take up more space. No surprise there. They sit with their arms behind their head. They'll wave their arms around when they talk. They're basically not afraid of taking up a lot of space. Women, on the other hand, are much different. What do women do? Well, we try to make ourselves as small as possible to make sure we're not taking up too much space. But we've got it all wrong. Turns out the more space you take up, the more powerful it makes you feel. So in order to combat this, I invite you to practice power posing. What is a power pose? It's basically a pose that helps you take up more space with your body. So you might practice the Superwoman pose like this image shows us. Or you might walk around the room taking long strides and waving your arms and legs. Now the best time to practice your power pose is before you go into a job interview or an important meeting. Instead of just going over your notes or looking at your phone, you can practice taking up space. You can lean back, hands behind your head, or whatever pose makes you feel comfortable. This helps adapt your brain to make it feel like an exciting opportunity and helps you become fully engaged. It also releases those chemicals that make you feel much more calm and grounded. It's basically a body hack to help you feel more confident in a short period of time. Homework Module 3. Notice when you're in and out of your power center, what situations trigger you to get out of your power. Every time you're out of your power center, practice the centering exercise. Notice what happens when you practice centering. What is different for you? Practice power poses before important meetings, interviews, or other stressful situations. Accountability. Go to our Facebook group and comment on the Module 3 post about your progress and/or any challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. And practice your centering exercise 3 to 5 times daily until it becomes a habit. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 4, Owning Your Worth. Let's recap what we've learned so far. We've learned the difference between power over versus power with and power to. We've redefined our relationship with power. We've explored the meaning of power with, and how we can embrace our power without negative associations. We've learned how to tap into our power center and learned about the centering exercise to have more authority, as well as power poses to develop leadership presence. Our goal for Module 4. In this module, we're going to learn how to own your value and self-worth. And you're going to learn how to let go of perfection and aiming for just good enough. And you'll learn about how to identify your past achievements and celebrate your successes. And you'll identify your strengths and gifts and learn how to own those. Let's get started. Owning your value. In today's society, we are sent conflicting messages about the role of women and their worth in our society. Current gender stereotypes and narratives about the perception of women, and girls for that matter, is very different to what it was in the past. Currently, we see images in the media, stories and personal experiences where women are not treated with respect. They're not valued and generally treated like second-class citizens. This collective belief system that women are not worthy eventually becomes part of our inner narrative, and it can adversely impact our self-esteem, self-confidence, and how we value ourselves. So let's explore why it's important to value ourselves. In the previous module, we looked at the confidence gap between men and women, and we showed that in general, women do not value their abilities, capacities, their opinions, or their worth financially as much as men do. And we showed how the gender gap persists when we don't have confidence in ourselves and our abilities, and it adversely impacts the actions we take in our lives and our careers. Therefore, if we want to achieve equality in salary, in equal opportunities in the job market, equal treatment in the workplace, then we need to own our own value and begin rewriting the belief systems of our society that teaches women and girls about their value. So let's look at what we mean by owning your value. In general, we define owning your value in the following ways. You believe you are good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or fill in the blank. You believe in your gifts, abilities, and talents. You understand and value your uniqueness. You own who you are regardless of your flaws. And you value and own your past achievements and experience. When we own our value, we believe we deserve to have all the things we want. We believe we are able to manifest our desired goals. We believe we deserve to earn money and a fair salary. We believe we have opinions, ideas, and input that matters. And we believe our actions will have positive outcomes. So what bold actions would you take if you owned your value? Exercise number 1. What is your value? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you value yourself, your abilities, and your gifts? 1 being not at all, 10 being the most. What part of yourself are you always second-guessing? Your intelligence, your opinions, your worth in terms of a salary or income? And how does that impact the actions you take or don't take, like not speaking up, not negotiating a salary, etc.? Write the answers down in your workbook. Exercise number 2, owning your value. Now imagine yourself with a 10 where you own your value, your gifts and abilities completely, and are not afraid to speak up. Be heard and go for what you want. What types of actions would you take? How would you show up in the world? How would your life be different? Jot down your answers in the workbook. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 4.2, letting go of perfection. In the earlier module, you were able to identify your inner bully and understand how the inner bully is controlling many of your actions, even subconsciously. For many of us, we have an inner bully that tells us we need to be perfect in all aspects of our life and career. We need to live up to others' expectations of us, and we need to be perfect daughters, sisters, wives, mothers, and employees. But the more we strive for perfection, the harder we can be on ourselves and the louder the inner bully can get. If you have a perfection bully, then you are probably aware of the words that it likes to tell you. It probably becomes louder when you make a mistake, or maybe when you compare yourself to others. Maybe it makes you feel like you need to achieve more and that you aren't doing enough. Or maybe it tries to convince you that you're not qualified enough, don't have enough education, and need more knowledge before you speak up and contribute your opinions. Take a brief moment to think about how this perfection bully shows up for you, and in what types of situations does it tend to rear its ugly head. In order to fully own our worth, we need to address this need to always be perfect. And to do that, I invite you to let go of perfection. A lot of times, perfection can get in the way of self-acceptance. We tend to focus on all our flaws instead of focusing on our strengths. When we do this, it eventually eats at our self-confidence, at our self-worth, and we get into a vicious cycle of feeling never good enough. When we put high expectations to be perfect in every way, we also set ourselves up for failure because, let's face it, perfection is not realistic. When we put high expectations for ourselves, we are bound to fail, which in turn reinforces being not good enough. And the cycle of feeling unworthy continues. If you recognize this in yourself, one of the first steps in letting go of perfection is owning your imperfection. Now, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to achieve higher levels of success in your life, but it does mean being comfortable with your flaws. It means knowing deep down inside that being perfect isn't possible, and that you are enough just the way you are. Loving our flaws, our weaknesses, and all aspects of ourselves is part of developing more worth and self-confidence. So to combat the perfectionist bully, we are going to apply the same techniques as before. We are going to channel our inner cheerleader to help us overcome these negative beliefs about ourselves. So first, think about what would be possible if you let go of perfection in different areas of your life or your career. What would be different if you accepted your imperfections? Now think of words from your inner cheerleader that can help you overcome feelings of inadequacy or when you feel like you made a mistake or are not good enough. What would your inner cheerleader tell you about yourself? Exercise number 3, taking inventory. As part of building your sense of self-worth, I invite you to look back at your life to take inventory of all your achievements and success. The reason for this is because as perfectionists, we sometimes forget to celebrate our achievements, and we tend to not give ourselves credit for our hard work. We tend to forget the qualities we exhibited to get there. Therefore, this next exercise is important because it will allow you to remember who you are, what you achieved, and in times of self-doubt, you can glance back at this list to remind yourself of how far you've come and that you are good enough. Make a list of 50 achievements and successes in your life, big or small, everything from learning how to walk to landing a promotion. What qualities did you have to exhibit to achieve those accomplishments? Write those down in your workbook. Exercise number 4, asking others. Ask 5 close friends or family who know you very well to describe 5 to 6 positive qualities about you when you're at your best. Compare notes. Are there any characteristics that stand out or repeat in their answers? These are your gifts. This is who you truly are. Write them down and keep them handy and refer back to them in moments of self-doubt or feeling unworthy. Homework Module 4. Complete the exercises for this week. Do some reflection and journal on what comes up for you. Notice situations where you feel not good enough or your perfectionism gets in the way. Channel your inner cheerleader at any time you notice you're hard on yourself or have failed in some way. Accountability. Go to our Facebook group and comment on the Module 4 post about your progress and/or challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. Write the qualities of you at your best and put them somewhere visible to refer to again in moments of self-doubt or feeling unworthy. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 5, Confident Communication. As we continue on our journey of developing more confidence, we need to look at how to develop the ability to communicate with confidence in order to able to express our opinions, influence others, and ask for what we want. In this module, we will share tools on how to speak up and give difficult feedback to others, and reclaim our voice so that we are able to contribute all our gifts to the world. In the last module, we learned about the following topics. We learned at the importance of owning our value, and about how our beliefs about our worthiness can impact our actions. We learned how to let go of perfection and own our imperfections. And we learned how to use the inner cheerleader to replace beliefs of not being good enough. And I shared some tools on how to develop more self-worth and owning your value. Our goals for this module are learning how to communicate confidently, and we'll also look at how to be assertive without being aggressive. And I'll teach a new communication framework for expressing ourselves and body language tips for being more confident in our communication. Let's dive into our topic this week, confident communication. Let's start with asking ourselves, why is it important to learn how to confidently communicate in the first place? Again, we can look back to the confidence gap to understand why this is so important. I stated in an earlier module that the confidence gap impacts how we express ourselves. When we don't speak up, our ideas, opinions, and contributions are not heard by others. We might begin to feel inadequate, invaluable, and this can negatively impact our self-confidence. For women to have an impact in their personal and professional lives, they have to be able to share their ideas openly and honestly, give feedback to others, and not be afraid to speak up. To address this, we are again going to first look at our inner bully. What does your inner bully tell you about expressing yourself? What does it say when you feel afraid to speak up? When you don't contribute your ideas, when you feel like hiding instead of sharing, or when you don't express yourself? Think about these questions and write down the words of your inner bully as it relates to speaking up and communicating your ideas. Next, we want to invite you to do a little visualization exercise. You can close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. I want to invite you to think about standing on stage in front of 100 people in a room. Imagine yourself giving a speech. You're speaking about a topic you're very passionate about, a topic that is really important to you. Imagine confidently delivering that message and everyone responding positively. You're calm, poised, and collected while you deliver this message. As you finish, people give you a big round of applause. Go ahead and open your eyes. How do you feel after you walk off stage? How did it feel to be able to confidently deliver your message and express your ideas? What sensations did you have in your body? What did people say to you afterward? Jot down any notes that you want to capture from this visualization exercise. You can always come back to this exercise when you need to access this feeling of confidence before going into a meeting, having a difficult conversation, presenting an idea, or whenever you need to express your thoughts. Being assertive without being aggressive. A lot of times we make the mistake that in order for people to take us seriously, we need to be loud, interrupt, talk over others, or be rude and overly harsh in our delivery. We think we need to emulate men in their communication style in order to have our voice be heard. But unfortunately, when women try this tactic, it doesn't necessarily have the desired impact. A lot of times it can backfire and have a negative impact or make people feel negative opinions about us. In order to combat this, we can learn to be assertive without being aggressive through practicing a few strategies. First, always practice the centering exercise before delivering an important message. It only takes about 30 seconds for you to do this before a meeting, a conversation, or a presentation. This will help you be more calm and collected, which automatically helps you deliver the message more effectively. Number 2, identify the end goal. When formulating your opinion, think of the end point first. What are your goals from this conversation? What do you want to achieve? Are you trying to convince someone to take an action, or are you trying to establish yourself as an authority? Think of the end in mind and then ask yourself, what qualities do I need to exhibit in order to deliver the message in the right way? And what message do I need to give in order to achieve that goal? Practice empathic communication. Put yourself in the other's shoes and imagine how they are feeling or what they might be thinking. If you're unsure, you can always ask for clarification. Sometimes keeping the perspective that other people are also going through difficulties or challenges and have their own needs and desires can help you deliver the message with more empathy. Number 4, be direct. Be direct with your words. Sometimes less is more when explaining yourself. Try not to be too long-winded or give too long of an explanation. Look for signs from the person you're speaking to, whether they understand your point, and ask for confirmation that they understood your thoughts before moving forward. Exercise number 2, speaking up. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel to speak up, voice your opinions, give input, or offer feedback? 1 being not at all, 10 being the most. What might be holding you back from doing so? How does not speaking up impact your effectiveness? Jot down your answers in your workbook. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 5.2, Empathic Communication. Next, I want to introduce a new model for communication that will help us communicate more effectively with our workmates, our direct reports, or even our friends and family. It's called the Nonviolent Communication Framework, or NVC for short. At the end of the day, the way we communicate our vision, our ideas, or offer feedback plays a large role in how other people perceive us and how impactful we are on the people we work with. So we're going to explore our unique style of communication and learn tools on how to communicate without being too aggressive or being too passive in our style of speaking and relating to others. This is going to help us find our authentic voice, learn how to listen to others and relate to them with more empathy. And we'll also learn how to navigate the unique challenges we face as women in the workplace when trying to find an effective style of communication. What is NVC? NVC is a framework of communication where we talk about what we feel and what we need in a manner that helps ensure that we'll be understood. This was a framework developed by a man named Marshall Rosenberg, who created it to help conflict zones in the world, like Israel and Palestine, be able to communicate and find solutions for peace. However, he soon found out that this framework can also be used to communicate what we feel and what we need without blaming others so that we are better understood. This is the NVC framework. It's made up of 4 simple steps. It looks deceptively simple, but it actually requires us to practice speaking in this way because we're not typically taught how to communicate using this framework. Most of us are taught to point the finger to the other person and blame them for how we are feeling if something doesn't go the right way. But this model actually teaches us to take responsibility for how we feel and communicate from that place. Step 1. State the facts. Describe the situation without judgment or interpretation. Step 2. Express how you feel. Describe how the situation made you feel using descriptive feelings. Step 3. Explain why. Describe why you felt this way, stating values that are important to you. Step 4. Make a request. Request a new behavior or action that will address the situation. Let's dive into each step in more detail. Step 1. Observe the facts. State the facts that are observable. Make sure that you're not including any assumptions or biases. So let's take a quick example. Let's pretend that one of your employees decided to go on a vacation before a very important presentation to a big client. Here's how you would express your feelings about this situation, using the 4-step NVC process. First, you will state the observable facts, directly stating what happened without any interpretation or bias. For example, you might say, "I just heard that you have decided to go on holiday the day before our big client presentation." Next, express how you feel about the situation. Take ownership of your feelings and talk about the emotion that the situation is bringing up for you. You can say something like, "When I heard this, it made me feel really nervous and anxious." You are stating how you feel without blaming the other person. You're merely stating how the situation made you feel. The third and most important step is stating the need or value that is not being met and explaining why you are feeling the way you're feeling. Identify what's important to you about the situation that might be provoking you to feel this way. You can say something like, "I feel this way because having your leadership and input is important to the success of our presentation." This step is the most important because you're explaining why you feel the way you do, and it helps in preventing the person feel like they are being blamed for something. You are taking full responsibility for your feelings, and you're allowing the other person to know what is important to you. This can help open up the conversation instead of having the other person become defensive. Then you can open the dialogue and start looking for solutions to the challenge. The fourth and final step is making a request. Make a concrete request for an action that will help you meet the need you stated. Ask clearly and specifically for what you want and be direct. In this example, it might sound like, "Would you be willing to postpone your vacation so that we can have your valuable input on the day of the presentation?" It would make a big difference to the team and to me. If you don't have a specific request, you can ask some more clarifying question to understand how the other person might be feeling, or what they might be needing to resolve the situation. Now it's your turn to practice NVC. Think of a recent situation where you had to give feedback and there was some conflict which resulted in an argument or hurt feelings. How did you handle it? What did you say? What was the impact? Now practice using the NVC model to communicate about that exact situation. Write down the 4 steps. What do you notice is different? What might be the outcome of that conversation if you used NVC instead to communicate your feelings? Although the NVC framework looks simple, it does require us to practice it before it becomes second nature. The first tip is to practice writing out your NVC statement before you verbally deliver the message. Next, use this to communicate with your friends and family as a method to practice the style of communication. And last, make sure you use it especially when you need to give difficult feedback, as it is an excellent tool to do so to avoid conflict or miscommunication. Body language. Another reminder to speak confidently is to pay attention to your body language. Remember to practice your power pose before delivering any message. In meetings, sit up straight, make direct eye contact when speaking, and keep your facial expressions neutral. And finally, don't raise your voice. If you feel more emotional, reschedule the conversation or return to it another time. Or you may want to practice the centering exercise in order to calm yourself down before you speak. Homework. Complete the exercises for this week. Do some reflection and journal on what comes up for you. Practice the NVC framework at home or with friends. Pick one situation at work where you can apply the NVC framework and practice it. Accountability. Go to our Facebook group and comment on the Module 5 post about your progress and any challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 6, Confident Negotiation. In the last module, we covered the following topics. We learned why it is important to communicate confidently and what gets in the way for you and what would be possible if you communicated more confidently. We learned how to be assertive without being aggressive. We learned about the NVC framework for communication and about assertive body language. And we offered some tips on practicing how to confidently communicate. Our goals for Module 6. In this module, we're going to learn why it is important to learn powerful negotiation skills. And we'll learn what gets in the way of asking for what you're worth. You'll learn how to value yourself so others will value you. And I'll share some tips on asking for what you are worth. And also, we'll learn how to build relationships with key decision makers to help you nail that next promotion. Let's dive into our topic around negotiation. First, let's look at why it's important to effectively negotiate. Negotiate. Going back to the confidence gap, we saw that many women think that they should earn less than men after they graduate. This belief stems from our programming that men are the breadwinners, that they should work and earn money and support a family. But as more and more women enter the workforce, these outdated gender stereotypes only service to prevent women from earning equitable pay for similar jobs, and it leads to the gender pay gap that continues to exist around the world. For instance, in the US, women still make only 70% on the dollar compared to men. So let's first turn to our inner beliefs. What does your inner bully say about your beliefs about money and how much you earn? Do you have an inner bully that tells you who might ask for more money? Or I'm not qualified to ask for that much money? Or I feel guilty for asking for more. What if they say no? So first, please identify the words of your inner bully as it relates to how much you earn. What are your inner bully beliefs about your ability to earn more money? Jot those down on a piece of paper. Now let's do visualization exercise around this. Close your eyes if it's comfortable to do so. I invite you to imagine yourself feeling worthy of earning more money. Think about a recent situation where you could have asked for more money or negotiated. What would you have done differently if you valued your worth more? What if you believed you should have earned more money at your last job? Imagine taking those actions. Imagine asking for what you felt you were really worth. Think about how you would have felt afterward. Write down any feelings or sensations or thoughts that come up for you as you think about this. Exercise number 2. Do you ask for what you're worth? Do you think you're earning fair compensation for your current job, product, or service? Do you know what the average salary or average price range is for your job or business? Do you constantly ask for less money, or would you like to earn more? Have you ever negotiated or asked for more money? By answering these questions, you will evaluate how well you're currently doing as it relates to your financial worth. Go ahead and jot down your answers in your workbook. As we move forward, here are some tips to continue working on valuing your worth as it relates to money. Jot down your thoughts as you reflect on these following questions. Review your list of accomplishments, achievements, gifts, and positive qualities. Think of the impact you're making in your current role or your business. How would the company be missing out if you weren't there? Do you feel like you deserve to earn more? Jot down these thoughts or journal about them in your workbook. Beat the inner bully and build self-confidence. Module 6.2, Money Mindset. Next, let's look at money mindset, because if you want to take more empowered actions around negotiation and financial abundance, then we need to be in the right mindset in order to ask for what we are worth and negotiate effectively. In order to stay in a positive money mindset, we need to do 3 things. First, we need to move from a scarcity mindset to a mindset of abundance. We need to shift from a constant fear of lack and not having enough financial abundance to a sense of endless abundance. We couple this with having faith and believing that the perfect salary, promotion, client, or job is on its way to us, instead of fearing that you will never get it. And finally, having the confidence in owning your value, knowing your gifts are valuable and you deserve to have good things come to you, are part of having a money mindset. Exercise number 1, developing a money mindset. Imagine living with an abundance mindset, letting go of fear or lack of scarcity. What limiting beliefs would you have to let go of? What would be possible in your life or career if you lived with a money mindset of abundance? In order to build the muscle of money mindset, here are some tips and tools to keep in mind. Make sure you are replacing the words of your inner bully with the words of your inner cheerleader as it relates to self-worth. Embrace a money mindset to begin attracting what you are worth. And use the techniques for negotiation that I will teach you next to begin actually manifesting more money or earning a higher salary. Let's turn now to some concrete negotiation skills you can use in any type of negotiation in the workplace. These are negotiation techniques that you can use when it comes to negotiating your salary, whether it's in a new job or an existing job where you would like to ask for a promotion and increase in salary. Number 1. Research and be prepared with the facts. What is your average industry salary? What do others get paid? What are others charging for their services? Number 2. Don't accept the first offer. Always ask time to think about the offer before you give an answer. Before negotiation, identify your desired salary and your absolute rock bottom that you're willing to accept. What other perks in lieu of salary can you ask for? Like salary review in 6 months, a better title, flexible work schedule, more time off, extra benefits, etc. If the offer doesn't satisfy your desired high or low, gracefully decline but keep the dialogue open. Counteroffer with a salary ask that is closer to your desired number. If that fails, ask for perks in lieu. In addition to negotiating tactics, it's important that you're building relationships with key decision makers inside the organization, who will eventually influence the decision whether you deserve to make more money. Identify who are the key decision makers who have influence or who will be making the final decision about your salary. Take time to develop relationships with those people if you currently work with them. Find ways to casually get to know them over coffee or lunch. Have informal meetings with them to build trust. Next, find allies or sponsors that can vouch for your performance and why you deserve a raise. These might be coworkers, bosses, ex-bosses, or colleagues who you can talk to about your performance and why you deserve a raise. Finally, and most importantly, ask yourself how much visibility you have in your organization. Do people know about your accomplishments? Are you getting credit for your work? Are you able to showcase your achievements to key decision makers? If not, then find authentic ways to do so. Perhaps speaking up at meetings or giving more timely reports about your achievements, or giving more frequent presentations to inform others about you and your team's projects. Homework. Practice reinforcing the money mindset. Begin building relationships with key decision makers and look for more visibility inside the organization. If the opportunity presents itself, practice your negotiating skills. Accountability. Go to our Facebook group and comment on the Module 6 post about your progress and/or any challenges or obstacles with the homework. Don't forget to journal and take notes on what you're noticing and learning. Find a stretch assignment or a project and ask a key decision maker out for coffee or lunch. Final module. If you have made it this far, you are now at the end of our 6-module course on building self-confidence. So what's next? You have learned tangible tools and skills to be confident, assertive, and powerful in a good way, and to ask for what you're worth. Strive for incremental change. Keep working and building one skill at a time. I invite you to stay active in our Facebook group. You don't have to do this alone. Get support, find a mentor, join a network, hire a coach, read books. There are many, many resources available. Also, don't forget to celebrate your success. You have successfully completed the Beat the Inner Bully course. Congratulations for getting to this point. How will you celebrate? I invite you to complete the Moving Forward worksheet to keep the learning going. You've now reached the end of the Beat Your Bully course. I hope you have found these modules to be helpful in supporting you in your inner growth. I thank you for your time and dedication in putting the work necessary to invest in your future. And I'm confident that you will begin seeing subtle but powerful shifts in how you feel about yourself, in the words you tell yourself, and the actions that you begin to take in your life and in your career. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey, and I hope to see you next time in future courses and coaching programs that we offer.